Chapter 593, Number 4 Killer. This chapter is updated by Novels.pl. Treasure hunting compass seems like a treasure. Zhang Yuochen nodded with satisfaction, and let go of Lin Yue. With the treasure hunting compass, Zhang Yuochen could go ahead and search for the Holy Stone without having to return to Cyan Cloud County to carry out the transaction with Duan Muya. On top of that, it would save him from worrying about his true identity being exposed by Mu Lingxi. The cyan-robed elder gave Lin Yue a cold look. He would never have imagined Lin Yue would give in so easily. Were the evil people really this intimidating? Zhang Yuochen walked up to the cyan-robed old Taoist and pressed his electric palm on the old Taoist's head, guarding himself against any sneak attack. Zhang Yuochen searched the cyan-robed old Taoist with his free hand and found a compass made of black iron. This is it. Zhang Yuochen took the compass from the elder's robe. He could subtly feel two distinctive qis flowing out from it, making part of his palm chillingly cold and part of it burning hot. A vessel sculpted and refined from yin-yang Xuan stone. It's fairly impressive. Zhang Yuochen held the treasure hunting compass in his palm and was about to ask the cyan-robed old Taoist how to use it. Suddenly he felt his chest tighten and all the hairs on his body stand up. A cold current ran from the sole of his feet, through his spine, and up to his head. Simultaneously, the nerves all over Zhang Yuochen's body tensed up and all his joints stiffened. He stayed still, afraid to move an inch. A murderous feeling. A terrifying murderous feeling. Zhang Yuochen was sure that there was a killer around 33 meters or less from him. Qi converging skills so powerful that this person was able to draw this close to me without me realizing it. Who could it be? Zhang Yuochen thought, feeling alarmed. His back was drenched in sweat. The Blood Cloud sect was his only enemy in Eastern Evil Land. The person waiting in ambush was almost certainly a top killer from Blood Cloud sect. The disciples of Yin and Yang sect, however, were still unaware of the killer hidden nearby. They were surprised to see that Zhang Yuochen had suddenly stopped moving and instead kept very still. What happened to him? Zhang Yuochen kept still because although he could sense the murderous feeling, he did not know the exact position of the killer. If he were to strike out rashly, his opponent would gain the upper hand and take advantage of the situation. It would be wise to wait for the enemy to strike first. Once his opponent made a move, Zhang Yuochen would be able to locate his position. The killer who was waiting in ambush realized that Zhang Yuochen had sensed his presence. He stopped waiting and brandished his sword toward Zhang Yuochen's back. Swoosh! Concentric rings like ripples of water appeared in the air and moved toward Zhang Yuochen. A flashing sword with a 3-finger-wide blade slashed through the ripples of genuine qi and pierced through Zhang Yuochen's robe, almost reaching his body. Zhang Yuochen transformed into a beam of lightning using the Rolling Thunder's skill and moved 3 steps sideways, thereby dodging the killer's sword. With a ripping sound, the sword qi tore Zhang Yuochen's outer robe along its length. That was close. If Zhang Yuochen had been a split second late, there would have been a bloody wound inflicted on his body. Wind and Thunder Finger. Zhang Yuochen immediately retreated and began mobilizing spiritual power. His pointed finger struck toward the black-clad killer who had come out of hiding. The speed at which the killer moved was alarming. Immediately after he missed in his first attack, he leapt up without any hesitation and then disappeared into thin air as if he had leapt into another dimension of space. Zhang Yuochen's Wind and Thunder Finger, which had transformed into a lightning beam, missed the killer. He escaped unscathed. His opponent was a top-notch killer who had killed countless people. Besides, his cultivation was formidable. Although Zhang Yuochen was quick to strike out, he still missed by a beat. He was so skillful in qi converging technique, that even I wasn't able to detect him with my spiritual power. Zhang Yuochen stopped in his tracks once again instead of continuing his attack. He began to condense his spiritual power quietly in defense. A deep-toned voice rang out in the air. His Excellency's sensitivity to his surroundings is the keenest out of everyone I've met. You are indeed very capable. I guess Fang Ji and Cao Ying's deaths by your hands were not unjustified. The voice resonated everywhere. There was no way to pinpoint where it was coming from. It sounded like 10 people speaking simultaneously from different locations all around him. Zhang Yuochen had a look of indifference on his face. Your level of cultivation is definitely not low. You must be ranked within the top 5 killers of the Blood Cloud sect's 10 top killers. You have guessed correctly. I indeed belong to the Blood Cloud sect. Listen carefully. The person who is going to kill you is Liu O'Shea, just so you know when you go to hell. The deep voice rang out again in the air. Lin Yue, who was kneeling nearby, gasped. Liu O'Shea, the number 4 killer of Blood Cloud sect. The disciples of Yin and Yang sect were stunned once more as horror rose up in their hearts. Liu O'Shea was infamous as far back as 10 years ago. He was one of the most skillful killers of the eastern region. The name Liu O'Shea equated to a murdering demon in the hearts of the younger generation of disciples. Having chanced upon the legendary Big Devil, the young disciples who stayed with Yin and Yang sect the whole year round were terrified. The masked man is the master who killed Fang Ji and Cao Ying. Aren't we digging our own grave by trying to snatch his holy stone? What bad luck. Here we are trying to gain some experience, but we ended up bumping into 2 big devils from the demonic sects. Even the cyan-robed old Taoist was shocked. He would never have expected to meet the murder maniac. He regretted coveting the holy stone. What use was regret? Once these 2 evil people began fighting, the area within a radius of 10 miles would become their battleground. Bystanders could be killed by the forces and powers resulting from their battle. All the disciples of the Yin and Yang sect went into a panic. Zhang Yuochen, however, did not show any sign of distress. He remained calm and composed. Looks like I have to use space domain to locate his position. Zhang Yuochen decided to stop waiting and initiate an attack. He slowly released the space domain and began trying to trace and pinpoint Liu O'Shea's location. Very soon, Zhang Yuochen noticed a subtle aura fluctuation 7 feet to his left. Once the space domain covered the place where Liu O'Shea was, the contour of a human figure would be exposed. However, there was no way of sensing his presence by the naked eye or spiritual power. He has proven himself to be a top killer possessing the ability to make himself invisible and undetectable. Even a superior of the 9th change in the fish dragon realm, if careless, could be killed by him. Zhang Yuochen acted without hesitation the moment he located Liu O'Shea. Ninefold lightning knife. Without warning, Zhang Yuochen turned around and struck his arm in Liu O'Shea's direction. Crash, crash. Heaven and earth spiritual chi converged and condensed into lightning knife lines that ran over 10 meters long. Knife after knife struck toward Liu O'Shea. How is this possible? Liu O'Shea never thought that Zhang Yuochen would be able to locate him. With a swoosh, the lightning knife struck Liu O'Shea and he was thrown into the air. Fortunately, he was carrying an amulet treasure that absorbed the impact. Otherwise, he would have been severely wounded by the power of the first strike of the lightning knife. Despite the fact that the amulet treasure had absorbed the most of the impact, the power of Zhang Yuochen's attack was like that of a monk who had reached the 8th change in the fish dragon realm. Because Liu O'Shea was caught off guard, his blood chi and genuine chi in his meridians turned turbulent and could not be stabilized. Initially, it was supposed to be him ambushing and killing Zhang Yuochen. He would never have thought it would be him caught by surprise and forced into a corner by Zhang Yuochen. This was an extremely disgraceful thing for a top killer. Liu O'Shea ran exercises hoping to stabilize the genuine chi in him. However, Zhang Yuochen did not give him a chance to do that. With a swish, 2 lightning knife lines appeared right before him. By then, the power within the amulet treasure was exhausted. Liu O'Shea did not dare use his body to block the lightning knife lines. He tried to move the genuine chi toward his arms, which were holding a sword each, condensed the power and then struck forward. Boom, boom. A series of 8 lightning knife lines fell on Liu O'Shea consecutively. The power got stronger with each strike, forcing him to retreat. He took the blow from Zhang Yuochen's 9-fold lightning knife with his arms and they instantly went completely numb and dropped to his sides. Liu O'Shea had to swallow the humiliation of being beaten to such a sad state for the first time in 10 years of being a killer. 9-fold lightning knife was deemed a top-grade skill among the level 1 magic arts. Liu O'Shea was the first person to withstand all 9 lightning knives ever since Zhang Yuochen succeeded in cultivating the magic spell. It showed that he was not merely a killer. His strength was actually quite daunting. Liu O'Shea, having reached cultivation level of the 7th change in the fish dragon realm, possesses the capabilities of a monk who has reached the 8th change in the Fish Dragon realm. He will be a formidable opponent if I confront him head-on, Zhang Yuochen said in his heart. Once a person reached the Fish Dragon realm, unless he was a saintly being or a monk with exceptional physical qualities, it would be nearly impossible to fight beyond his realm of cultivation. After all, among those who could reach the Fish Dragon realm, who was not a talent? Luo Shi was considered outstanding among the monks who had reached the Fish Dragon realm because he could cross over to the next realm while fighting. Unfortunately for him, Zhang Yuochen had an edge over him because he had been overly complacent at the start. Wind and Thunder Finger. Zhang Yuochen did not give Luo Shi any chance to catch his breath. He struck with a pointed finger and a thick beam of lightning powerfully shot out from his fingertips. If Ninefold Lightning Knife was said to be the most powerful move of the top-level Thunderbolt series spells, then Wind and Thunder Finger would be the move that condensed most power. It could easily break through a monk's protective vigorous chi,